Good morning. Well, we have a few requests on our Hook Mania page on Facebook about reading patterns. And that seems to be a question that comes up a lot with a lot of people. And so they struggle to read the patterns. And the only thing that I can say is that the first thing, crochet has its own lingo. It's almost like it's got its own language. And so as soon as you can decipher that language, and it's not standardized across the board. I mean, every pattern kind of uses its own lingo, but basically the stitch abbreviations and asterisks and parentheses, those are standard across the board as a rule. And so your high school English teacher was right. Punctuation matters. And in crochet patterns, they serve the same role by helping us move through a row. There are periods and semicolons and parentheses and brackets or braces and asterisks, and they all mean something in that pattern. It's an instruction telling you what to do. And so I'm going to go through a pattern that I'm working with right now, and hopefully you can get some insight on how to read your own pattern. But if you have any questions about a pattern that you're working with and you're not quite understanding it, feel free to go to Hook Mania on Facebook and post your pattern and we'll help you go through it. So let's get started. The first thing that I do when I'm reading a pattern, when I find something I want to do, is I look up here. And I'm looking at, for the yarn weight that it's calling for, I'm looking for yardages, how much yarn it's going to take, and what kind of yarn colors they've used in their pattern. Now, that, you can change that. I mean, you don't have to follow that. Everybody knows that. And then it also gives you the crochet hook size or the size needed for gauge. And so gauge is really important. On some patterns it's not, but if you want your pattern to come out the size that that the pattern is showing, or the picture, then you need to do a gauge swatch. And it gives you the instructions for the gauge. It tells you that in the pattern 12 stitches and 12 rows equal 3.5 inches. So what you would do there is you would work this pattern and do 12 stitches across, and you would do 12 rows up, and then you would measure. And if for some reason it's too small, what you would do is increase your hook size to a bigger hook and try your gauge swatch again. And if it's too big, then you would use a smaller hook until you were able to achieve the gauge that you wanted. Okay, and I look for special instructions like the note. It tells you each row is worked across the length of the afghan. When joining yarn and finishing off, leave an 8-inch end to be worked into the fringe. Now that's a special note for this afghan, and you need to read those before you start a pattern. And then also right here I've highlighted special stitches it'll give you for your patterns, and I just highlight and I look for those because it will tell you how to do the special stitch that they have included in the particular pattern that you're working with. So let's get started and go through some sample rows. I'll do 2 or 3 just to help you get through and maybe get the feel of what's happening inside the pattern. Let's see, we'll go to row 5, and it says, with the right side facing, join 10 with a single crochet in both loops of first single crochet. Okay, and then it has this punctuation. That's where you stop. You do that stitch and then you go to the next one, single crochet in the back loop only of the next 3 stitches. There's a comma, that's a pause, and that means, you know, that's a set of instructions all by itself right there. And then it says work long double crochet in single crochet 1 row below next single crochet, comma, that's another stitch, single crochet and back loop only of next stitch, comma, that's another stitch, work long double crochet in single crochet 1 row below next single crochet, comma, that's another stitch, and then you have, this is supposed to be an asterisk. They use asterisks or stars, and from this asterisk to this asterisk, that is a set of instructions that you are going to repeat across to the last 4 stitches. And then it says single crochet in the back loop only of the next 3 stitches, single crochet in both loops of last single crochet, and finish off. And then it tells you at the end of the pattern, most of them do, how many single crochets you're supposed to have and how many long double crochets you're supposed to have. So again, from asterisk to asterisk, that inside of those asterisks, that's telling you to work that pattern across to the last single or 4 stitches. Okay, so that's an example of asterisk. And then we're going to come over here into row 10, and we'll start it, and it says with right side facing, join blue with single crochet in both loops of first single crochet. Now there's punctuation, so you stop, that's 1 stitch, and then single crochet in the back loop only of the next stitch, there's a comma, that's another stitch, work long double crochet and single crochet 1 row below next single crochet, comma, that's another stitch, and then we have our brackets, our parentheses, and a parenthesis is telling you, well, I'll just read it for you. Single crochet in back loop only of the next 2 stitches, work long double crochet in single crochet 1 row below next single crochet, and that's the end of your parentheses. And at the end of your parentheses, you will usually have, it'll say, you know, it'll give you a number how many times you're supposed to do it. In this case, it's saying twice. So you would, inside those brackets, you would do that. You would do the first, you would do the single crochet in the back loop only of the next 2 stitches and work the long double crochet and single crochet 1 row below next single crochet. The instructions inside of those brackets you would do twice. And then you have your asterisk, your star, and then that's telling you again, that's telling you that you're going to repeat that pattern from asterisk to asterisk across to the last 2 stitches. So basically that's the beginning on reading patterns. But like I said, if there are patterns that you're working with that you're not understanding, or a pattern you would like to do and you're not understanding the instructions, then shoot us a message on Hookmania, and we will help you decipher that pattern. But an important thing also that you need to remember is sometimes, a lot of times actually, in the back of a pattern, it will give you, for that particular pattern or the company that you're working with, it will give you their meanings of, their punctuations. So look for those. And also look for the special stitches within a pattern, so you know how to do that, because like I said, in this one here, the long double, it tells you how it's abbreviated, and then it tells you how to do the stitch. Yarn over, insert hook from the top to bottom in free loop of stitch indicated. Yarn over and pull up a loop even with last stitch made. Yarn over and draw through 2 loops on the hook twice. And that is a long double. And so, like I said, look for those special instructions. Make sure you always read your patterns through before you start them, to make sure that it's something you can do, it's something that you understand. A lot of times people get started and they get partway through a pattern to a certain row, and then they don't understand it and they stop. And that's too bad, because it's really pretty easy. So again, like I said, if you're having problems with a pattern you're working on, or you need help with deciphering, just go to our page, and we'll give you a hand. And our Facebook address is www.facebook.com/Hookmania. Thanks.